Vergil Ortiz Jr.
Erickson, the Hammer Lubin.
Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Now, unfortunately, I am very sorry about the hiatus. I had to deal with some personal stuff, but you might be asking, this isn't your background, Mario. What's going on? Well, don't you worry, because the next episode, I'm going to be right back where I belong. However, with that being said, I felt like I had to talk about this fight. And the reason why is because I do believe that this fight might not be the most important fight, but it could lead to one of the most important fights in the 154-pound division. Unfortunately, I didn't cover Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley. I do apologize for that. It was a great fight. Congratulations to Fabio Wardley on knocking out Joseph Parker, who was on a very big hot streak, a very big winning streak. So congratulations to Fabio Wardley. It's definitely a very good win to have on his record. But we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about Vergil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin. Now, Vergil Ortiz, y'all know about him, 23-0. And we used to know him as the guy who would knock out everybody he stepped into the ring with. However, recently, the past two fights, Vergil Ortiz has gone the distance. And through those fights where he's gone the distance, I've learned a lot about Vergil Ortiz. And as far as Erickson Lubin, this is a guy that I was a fan of as he got into the sport. And I still am a fan of Erickson Lubin. Don't get it twisted. However, Erickson Lubin, it seems like he's kind of on the later half of his career opposed to the earlier part of his career. Some people might call him a journeyman, but overall, Erickson Lubin does have some skills that he could use to pull off the upset on Vergil Ortiz. And the question is, will he do it? Now, before we get into all of that, we got to go through the breakdown. And obviously, when we're going through the breakdown, the first person that we are going to be covering is Vergil Ortiz. Now, Vergil Ortiz, here's the thing about him. Vergil Ortiz got a lot of strengths. The first strength I will point to is he packs power on both of his hands. Whether it's the left or right, it does not matter. Vergil Ortiz is the type of guy that can knock you out with the left or the right. And the thing about Vergil Ortiz as well is he can knock you out, whether it's to the top, whether it's to the body. He's that type of guy that there's no limits to how he's going to knock you out. And that was one of the other strengths I had for Vergil Ortiz is his body punching. He's a very good body puncher. And again, once he really knows that he hurts you with that body, he keeps on targeting it. And when he targets that body, once he knocks you down once with the body, he's going to try it again. And I do respect that about Vergil Ortiz because Vergil Ortiz, he's a hunter. He's going to go in, he's going to dig to the body, and he's going to knock you out if he realizes that he's hurt you with that body shot. The other thing about Vergil Ortiz, I will say, is if I had to point to one punch that's his strongest punch, it would be the overhand right. I've seen him knock out a lot of dudes with that overhand right. However, even though that's his strongest punch, he does have a very versatile right hand. I've also seen him knock guys out with the right hook, with the right uppercut. Vergil Ortiz is very good with that right hand. He can throw it in many different ways. And not only that, he's very precise with his right hand. Now, like I said, he packs power in both punches. If I had to point to a secondary punch for Vergil Ortiz, I would say it's his left hook. The left hook is the punch that I think he's knocked out a lot of guys with. Maybe not as much as the overhand right, but the left hook is his secondary punch. That's probably his second favorite punch if I had to predict it myself. And overall, that's what I mean. He packs power in both of those hands. And again, once he realizes he's got you hurt, Vergil Ortiz is a very dangerous fighter to deal with. He's got a very, very powerful jab. The thing I like about Vergil Ortiz's jab is very good for setting up what's to come. Whether that's him using the jab to land one of those power punches. I've also seen him follow up that jab with an overhand right many, many times. The other thing that he likes to do with that jab, which is going to lead to another strength of Vergil Ortiz, he'll throw a jab basically to kind of shrink the ring on his opponent. And that's one of the strengths that Vergil Ortiz is very, very good with. It's one of the underrated strengths that Vergil Ortiz is very good with. He's very good at shrinking that ring within like 2 steps or within 2 punches. He's very good at forcing opponents into a tight spot. He's very good at forcing opponents to be on the ropes or be in the corner. He's very good at using that ring, and he uses that ring basically 100% of the time to shrink it. And that's what I really respect about Vergil Ortiz. He's very good with movement. Now, even though he's not like a Alexander Usyk or a Lomachenko, or if you want to go to the past fighters, he's not a Muhammad Ali or a Floyd Mayweather or a Pernell Whitaker. or Roy Jones Jr. He's not one of those guys. However, what I will say is I do like his movement. He's got similar movement in certain instances to Bam Rodriguez, where he'll be in the front of you and he'll throw a punch. And then next thing you know, the opponent will turn around and he's on his side or he's behind him. Vergil Ortiz is very good when it comes to that movement. As a matter of fact, I seen a very impressive knockout from Vergil Ortiz where he hit a guy with a right straight and he pulled a little bit of a step back and the guy was knocked down. And to me, that is a testament to Vergil Ortiz's movement. I'm not going to say it's elite footwork, but he's got really good movement. Now, with all of that being said, what would be the weaknesses for Vergil Ortiz? I mean, he is 23-0. However, the last 2 fights have gone the distance and they've been close fights. So what have been the weaknesses that I've picked up from those 2 fights? I'm going to talk about it right now. Well, as far as Vergil Ortiz, the biggest weakness for Vergil Ortiz is he drops his hands before attacks. And the perfect example is the Bohacek fight. When he was fighting Bohacek timed Vergil Ortiz very well. You see Vergil Ortiz, it looked like he was kind of winding in for an attack, and Bohacek knocked him down. I mean, Bohacek knocked him down twice in that fight, and they weren't knockdowns that would hurt Vergil Ortiz. However, they were knockdowns that I don't think Vergil Ortiz saw coming. He didn't see the punch coming. And to me, the reason why is because every single time Vergil Ortiz throws a punch, he tends to kind of drop that hand just a little bit. And it's a little bit to kind of expose the chin, and then he'll get caught off guard. Now, Vergil Ortiz got a good chin. I will say that right now. So it's not them cracking his chin. It's more of them just finding the opening and clicking. And basically, once they click, he kind of ends up going to the ground. That's what Bohacek did very well in this fight. And it's a fight that a lot of people felt like Bohacek won. And again, you can debate that all you like, but overall, Bohacek did a very good job twice of catching him off guard. So I will say he drops his hand before attacks. The gas tank is questionable. His gas tank is questionable. I'm not going to say that it's a big weakness because I have to see more of it. But what I will say is the gas tank's questionable in the sense of he's not tired to where has his mouth open and he's panning and all that type of stuff. He's not tired in the sense of you could see him breathing heavily. He's tired in the sense of the power that he packed from round 1 is not going to be the power that he packed from round 12. And you can say that about anybody. However, Vergil Ortiz is noticeable. Once you start getting to the later rounds, guys like Bohacek and guys like Madrimov, they seemed a little bit more comfortable going punch for punch with him because the power wasn't really there as much as it was in the first round. Now, don't get me wrong. Vergil Ortiz is a dangerous fighter from round 1 to round 12. He's still got some power in those punches. But for me, from what I've seen at least, it seems like the power starts declining little by little as the rounds progress. And I mean, again, I can't blame him because your first 21 fights, you were undefeated with 21 knockouts. You know, you really didn't go the distance. So for me, I think that going to 12 rounds in these last 2 fights, I think it's helped. I think he's looked better in the Madrimov fight than when he did in the Bohacek fight. So I do see some improvement there. But again, the gas tank is still questionable for me. He tends to take unnecessary damage. The thing about Vergil Ortiz is he's going to give the fans a show. I mean, Bohacek fight was a great fight. The Madrimov fight was a good fight. Overall, he's going to give the fans a show. And when he gives the fans a show, usually he starts going punch for punch with these guys. And even though in a lot of those situations, I do favor Vergil Ortiz, I don't like seeing him go punch for punch because to me, he starts taking that unnecessary damage. He starts kind of shying away from the game plan. And for me, I like it when Vergil Ortiz is calculated and he's precise. And for me, when he's going punch for punch, I don't see that Vergil Ortiz. And again, like I said, Bohacek was able to knock him down. Maybe not in punch for punch situations. However, Vergil Ortiz was knocked down twice by Bohacek. Who's to say that if he goes into those punch for punch situations, he doesn't get knocked down again? So for me, I kind of like it when he's not taking that unnecessary damage. He's kind of fighting the boxing approach instead of the brawler approach. And then last but not least, he struggles with fighters who are constantly moving. Madrimov gave him a very tough time. Bohacek gave him a tough time. These fighters are constantly moving. And for me, I feel like Vergil Ortiz, his goal is to cut that ring on you and basically start putting damage on you. But you can't do that if these guys keep on moving. I think Madrimov was a very, very tough challenge for Vergil Ortiz. And I feel like Madrimov's plan was basically to keep on moving, hit him with some 1-2 combinations, you know, maybe get him with one punch. I don't think Madrimov fought as aggressive as he should have to beat Vergil Ortiz, but regardless, I do believe that the movement was definitely something that Vergil Ortiz was frustrated with. Now, Those are the strengths and weaknesses for Vergil Ortiz. And overall, Vergil Ortiz is a great fighter. I mean, this is a guy who started his amateur career 0-8, and he actually picked up a guitar and he learned guitar. And through learning guitar, he became a better boxer. He became more coordinated, you know, and everything just started to click. So overall, Vergil Ortiz, from a guy who started 0-8 in the amateurs, he proved that it doesn't matter how you start, it's about where you're going. And overall, Vergil Ortiz is pretty close to a championship opportunity in that 154-pound division. Now, with all of that being said, we go to his opponent, Erickson Lubin. Now, what can I tell y'all about Erickson Lubin? Now, here's the thing about Lubin. Lubin was one of my personal favorites when he came into the sport of boxing. I really like the way Lubin fought, and I still like Lubin as a fighter. And Lubin's got some strengths. Don't get it twisted, guys. Lubin is a dog. He's got some strengths. However, he's also got some very critical weaknesses that Vergil Ortiz will not hesitate to take advantage of. But I want to start off with the strengths. First strength, again, just like Vergil, he packs power in both of his hands, whether it's the left or the right, it don't matter. He packs power in both of his hands. Maybe not the same power as a Vergil Ortiz, but Erickson Lubin's got some underrated power. And I do think that's something that Vergil Ortiz is going to have to look out for, considering the fact that he's been knocked down before. This is a guy that when you're in a fight with him, you don't want to get knocked down by. The second thing I will say, if I had to point to the first punch, the strongest punch for Erickson Lubin is that right hook. He's very, very good with that right hook. And if I had to point to the secondary punch, it's that straight left. Those are the two punches that Erickson Lubin is always looking to land and click on. Now, with that being said, Erickson Lubin, just like Vergil Ortiz, he's an aggressor. He's going to bring the fight to you. He's not going to stop coming forward. And in a lot of cases, that's been his strength. In some fights, that's also been his weaknesses, and we'll touch up on that a little bit later on when we talk about his weaknesses. However, as far as his strengths, he is the aggressor. And a lot of these fights, he is the aggressor, and he's very good at basically keep on coming forward. It doesn't matter what you hit this guy with. He's going to keep on coming forward until you don't give him a reason to. The other thing about him is his toughness. This guy is as tough as nails. I mean, the guy is not going to quit in a fight. He's going to keep on moving forward. It doesn't matter what he got knocked down. It doesn't matter even if he got knocked out. This guy is super tough, and he's going to keep on coming forward. He's going to fight some of the best fighters in this division as well. That's what I respect about Erickson Lubin. He goes into the ring with the best, and he ends up showing that if he doesn't win the fight, he ends up showing that toughness. And to me, I think that's going to be a strength in this fight. He really loves that left uppercut. In my opinion, that is another good punch for Erickson Lubin, that left uppercut. He's knocked down a lot of guys with it. He's rocked a lot of guys with it as well. So I will point to that left uppercut as a punch that Vergil Ortiz is going to have to watch out with. Counters. That's when Erickson Lubin seems to do the most damage with those counters, is when these opponents, they're on the ropes or the ring is starting to get cut off on them and they try to throw punches to throw them off guard. Erickson Lubin is very good at kind of parrying them and then basically hitting them with some type of counter. And usually when he hits them with those counters, usually the right hook, again, the left straight ends up coming into play sometimes. But overall, Erickson Lubin is very good when it comes to those counters. And then last but not least, he's got a very constant jab. Erickson Lubin, he's always throwing that jab. And it seems like he's always trying to set something up with that jab. But usually when it comes to Erickson Lubin, he's very good at just constantly using that jab. And you don't see that from a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters sometimes shy away from those jabs. Not Erickson Lubin. So I will say those are all the strengths that I found, at least for Erickson Lubin. Now, what are the weaknesses? Gas tank. Erickson Lubin's gas tank is a weakness. Now, I've seen him go on the distance with Jesus Ramos. I've seen him go into deep fights with guys like Sebastian Fundora. To me, the gas tank's the weakness. As the time goes on, you can see that he's getting tired. It's not like Vergil Ortiz where the power doesn't show. You can see him getting tired. And to me, the gas tank is the biggest thing that I think Erickson Lubin is going to have a problem with in this fight. Again, Vergil Ortiz, if he takes him to deep waters, how's Erickson Lubin going to handle it? He tends to flinch and clinch. That's, to me, is a weakness for Erickson Lubin. There's been many times where I've seen him overwhelmed and he's clinched opponents. He's kind of flinched. He's kind of put himself in certain situations. He's kind of ducked his head a little too low. There's been many times I've seen Erickson Lubin kind of overreact to some feints. There's been many times where I've seen Erickson Lubin in trouble when he just starts clinching. You know, he really doesn't have a backup plan for it. He kind of shies away from the defense and just focuses on surviving. Erickson Lubin, he took a lot of damage throughout the years. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about Erickson Lubin, when you think of a loss, you think of Jamel Charlo. And don't get me wrong, that was a very, very scary knockout. But to me, his worst loss was against Sebastian Fundora. All I encourage you guys to do, just go look up the photo of what his face looked like after Sebastian Fundora. It didn't look good. He looked like Martin in that one episode where Martin Lawrence fought Tommy Hearns. I mean, he's taken a lot of damage through that Sebastian Fundora fight alone. He's taken a lot of damage. And to me, I start to question, has he taken enough damage to where it shouldn't be no more? And when it comes to that Sebastian Fundora fight, that's the questions that I have, is how much damage did you really take from that fight? How much damage did the Charlo knockout affect you with? So for me, that is going to be a question in my mind. If you look at Erickson Lubin, when he got knocked out by Charlo and he got beat and he got knocked down by Sebastian Fundora, the times where he got knocked down and knocked out, it was always with the right uppercut. So for me, if I'm Vergil Ortiz, I'm looking to land that right uppercut. Again, like I said, Vergil Ortiz has got a very, very versatile right hand. And overall, when you're going to look at it, I don't expect Erickson Lubin to quit. Like I said, his toughness is a strength, but in those fights with Sebastian Fundora, it was a weakness, that toughness. And he's so tough that even when he got his lights knocked out by Jermell Charlo, he still got back up on his feet. So overall, Erickson Lubin is a very, very tough guy. I don't question that. However, those two right uppercuts, I don't know how much damage those did to him, but I will say that is the punch that he got hit with when he took the most damage. So for me, I would say that right uppercut is definitely going to be a punch that I would look for if I'm Vergil Ortiz. His lack of defense, Erickson Lubin is not that type of guy that's not going to slip and dodge and weave out the way. He's that type of guy that's going to try to parry the attacks. He's going to come forward with more offense. So for me, I will say that the defense is a very, very crucial weakness for Erickson Lubin, and it's going to be something that I need to see him turn up with. He struggles against bigger fighters. When he fought Sebastian Fundora, when he fought Jermell Charlo, when he fought Jesus Ramos, the three fights where he had the least amount of success, those guys were bigger than him. And again, I don't know what Vergil's going to look like in that ring with him. I feel like they're both going to be kind of the same size. I feel like they're both going to look the same size. So I don't know if that's going to take a part in this fight. But I will say that is a weakness. He struggles against bigger fighters, taller fighters, guys who you can clearly see have the size advantage on him. Gifted decisions. That's the thing about Jesus Ramos. There's been a lot of fights where I've seen the fight get stopped, and I think the ref stopped it too early. And if you want to talk about gifted decisions, go to the Jesus Ramos fight. Jesus Ramos sweeped him, in my opinion, 12-0 in those rounds. Jesus Ramos dominated him in that fight from round 1 to round 12, and they gave the win to Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin got outclassed. He got outboxed. He gets gifted decisions, and the reason why I say that's a weakness is because in this fight, you can't rely on a gifted decision against Vergil Ortiz, who is the favorite coming into this fight, who the card is built around. You can't do that. So for me, I will say that is a weakness. Erickson Lubin, if he's going to win, he's going to have to win decisively one way or the other. And then last but not least, he leaves his body open down the middle. A perfect example is the Jesus Ramos fight. If you go to that fight, Jesus Ramos, every single sequence kept targeting that body. And when he kept targeting that body, you could see how exhausted and tired Erickson Lubin was getting. Jesus Ramos, he fought a very conservative fight, but at the same time, he was also very precise with where he was going, and that body was wide open for the taking when it came to Erickson Lubin. Obviously, with these guys, what are the 3 keys to victory? If you do these 3 things, you're going to get a decisive win. What is it for Vergil Ortiz? The keys to victory for Vergil Ortiz, the first one I would say is pushing back with pressure. Again, that's the one thing that Vergil Ortiz is very good with, establishing pressure and using that pressure to force his opponents on the rope, force his opponents in the corner. I will say that's what you're going to have to do against Erickson Lubin. Force Erickson Lubin to play flight instead of fight. In my opinion, that's the first thing that Vergil Ortiz should do. The second thing is target the body early and constantly. That's what Jesus Ramos did, and he had a lot of success with it. Now, again, unfortunately, he didn't get the decision. But if you do that in this fight, there's no reason why Vergil Ortiz shouldn't get that decision. So I will say target that body, make him tired. And last but not least, find the perfect time to land that uppercut, specifically that right uppercut. Again, Erickson Lubin has a habit of ducking his head a little bit too low when he's trying to dodge attacks. And when you see that, throw that right uppercut. I think, in my opinion, once you throw that one right uppercut from Vergil Ortiz, if you're Vergil Ortiz, once you throw that one right uppercut, I do believe you're either going to rock him or you're going to knock him down or potentially knock him out. So for me, those would be the 3 keys for Vergil Ortiz to basically not only win this fight, not only win it in dominant fashion, but win it by knockout. Now, as far as Erickson Lubin, what are the keys to victory for Erickson Lubin? If I'm Erickson Lubin, the first thing I'm going to do is use my jab to keep range. In this fight, you want to be the aggressor, but you don't want to be the aggressor in the way Vergil Ortiz is. You don't want to get into the inside and put a bunch of power punches together. Use that jab. Keep Vergil Ortiz at bay. And when you use that jab, you're going to figure out the type of sequences that Vergil Ortiz likes to use. So I will say first, use that jab. I think the jab is going to be the most important punch for Erickson Lubin in this fight. Attack when he drops his hands. Vergil Ortiz is going to give you those opportunities where he drops his hands. Maybe just a little bit, but he's going to give you those opportunities to where that chin's going to be open. And when that chin is open, capitalize. You only have a few opportunities, but when you get those opportunities, capitalize on Vergil Ortiz, and you can get him with a surprising knockdown. And then last but not least, use your pressure to open him up. I don't encourage you to stay on the inside with him, but I encourage you to, when you get into the inside, put some pressure on him to where Vergil Ortiz is going to get careless. Like I said, sometimes he takes some unnecessary damage. When you get into the inside, throw some power punches, force him to take that unnecessary damage, and then slip right out. Erickson Lubin is going to have to be the aggressor. He's going to have to go to the outside and the inside to win this fight. But overall, if he can find the perfect times to do that, and he can find the perfect times to clip Vergil Ortiz, Erickson Lubin could walk out with a shocking win. And so we get to the betting odds. And when we look at the betting odds, I mean, here's the thing. Vergil Ortiz is the minus 1,000 favorite, while Erickson Lubin is the plus 580 underdog. And this is according to FanDuel, and the betting odds will be subjected to change as the fight gets closer. Maybe the odds will get wider. Maybe they'll get a little bit more narrow. But with that being said, who do I have winning this fight? Well, here's the thing. Here's how I see this fight going. Can I see Erickson Lubin winning this fight? Potentially, but it's a long shot. So for me, who do I see winning this fight? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I got Vergil Ortiz by 5th round KO, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So the way I see this fight going is I do believe that the first round is going to be basically them trying to figure it out. I think the first round is going to be pretty close because I don't think a lot's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is round 2, I think they're going to start putting the pressure. I think you're going to start to see Vergil Ortiz has some success with finding openings. I think you might even see Erickson Lubin hit him with some clean punches. I don't think Erickson Lubin is going to knock him down in this fight. What I think is going to happen is once we get to rounds 3 and 4, I think Vergil Ortiz is really going to put that pressure on Erickson Lubin. I think that Vergil Ortiz is going to go in there, and I think that he is going to basically just start firing on Erickson Lubin. I think that when you go and you look at it, I think that Vergil Ortiz is going to use those punches that I've talked about. He's going to try to find that right overhand. He's going to clip him with that right overhand. He might even knock him down before the 5th round. But I do believe that the damage from Erickson Lubin is going to show come the 3rd and 4th round. You're going to start seeing Vergil Ortiz keep that jab. You're going to start seeing Vergil Ortiz keep clipping him with that jab. You're going to start seeing Vergil Ortiz land that overhand right. You might see him knock him down once. And I do believe that it's going to get to the point where Erickson Lubin, he's going to want to keep on continuing. And I do believe that his corner is going to let him get into the 5th round. I don't believe it's going to be the same amount of damage as Sebastian Fundora. But I do believe you're going to start seeing Erickson Lubin in some situations where he's going to have to clinch, where the ring's going to get cut off on him, where Vergil Ortiz is going to use that movement to kind of make it a very uncomfortable fight for Erickson Lubin. And then come the 5th round, I do believe Vergil Ortiz is going to rock him. He's going to get him on the ropes. Erickson Lubin is just going to try to survive. Vergil Ortiz is going to clip him with some shots, and then the ref is going to realize that he's going to have to stop the fight. So I think that Vergil Ortiz is going to win this fight by 5th round TKO. Is it possible that he knocks him out like Jermell Charlo? Sure. I've only seen it happen once with Erickson Lubin. But I do believe that there's a better chance of Vergil Ortiz knocking him out with a TKO where the ref stops the fight opposed to him knocking him out with one shot and knocking his lights out, even though Vergil Ortiz got the power to do it. However, again, I could also see the upset happening where Erickson Lubin clips him with a shot that Vergil Ortiz doesn't expect, and Vergil Ortiz gets knocked out. But from what I've seen, I don't think this fight's going to get past the 6th round. I think that it's going to be a 5th round TKO from Vergil Ortiz. I think after the 1st round, maybe after the 2nd round, I think Vergil Ortiz is going to handle business and get it done. So I got Vergil Ortiz by 5th round TKO. Yeah, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. Again, I'm sorry that I haven't been as consistent as I would like to be. Don't you guys worry. I'm going to start getting very consistent. November is going to have some great fights happening. So overall, make sure y'all continue to stay tuned. I know that Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn 2, that's coming on the way. So make sure y'all definitely tune into this podcast for when that fight gets closer. But until then, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. Make sure y'all follow us on all the podcast platforms. Make sure y'all subscribe to us on the YouTube channels. Make sure y'all follow us on all the social medias. And overall, with that being said, thank y'all for tuning into the Puncher's Point after a very long hiatus. I do apologize for that. We are back now. But last but not least, make sure y'all continue to stay on point with the Puncher's Point.